If you're living under a rock where Patrick lives, MOONTON decided to remove mana from physical heroes for no fucking reason that I can't comprehend. They yapped all reasons that physical heroes focus basic attack and yada yada. We made terrible game decisions and we don't want to show it and will instead not listen to valid feedbacks. Obviously, there were oppositions into this change, for reasons that can be found easily, like trying to find Shaquille O'Neal hiding from paparazzis, because in the standpoint of a game design, this is bad no matter how you see it. I have asked specific people and my closest peers, and they disagreed with this retarded change because it ruins balancing within the game. Now, I can cry my balls whatever I want here, but that will be a separate video for now. Let's focus on to another aspect. They justified this piece of shit. I wish I was joking. The recent advanced server patch, aka the test server patch, they addressed a response onto why they wanted to port the mana removal, and let me save you some brain cells here considering the devs right now has 0 of TLDR. We do know what we are doing because we are incapable of balancing a game, so we made it easier for mentally disabled people. Also, we will ignore criticism from the ones with valid feedback. Good job, MOONTON. Here's a sticker for the stress you gave us. Let's break this down one by one, and hopefully I won't break myself, because 3 words, fuck you devs.
We've noticed that some players still have balance concerns about the removal of mana for physical heroes.
Obviously. Mana has always been a feature of games that focuses onto gameplays with abilities and balancing. It's supposed to set a boundary that heroes should not be able to mindlessly spam their abilities here and there without some form of drawback.
We'd like to share our thoughts on this with everyone.
Please don't.
There are many ways to restore mana in MLBB, such as returning to base, common emblems, demon boots, enchanted talisman, and other equipment.
So stick to the fact that you designed features to boost replenishing mana. What problems did mana even have for you to try removing it and justifying that it needs to be removed? Spoiler alert. Mana had 0 problems.
Most physical heroes have no mana issues after purchasing demon boots or equipping common emblems.
Except both said mechanics aren't even the general basis of needing mana regen and fixing issues for mana. Mana Necklace alone fixes everyone's mana issue really well, and it's just 120 gold.
For example, on the official server, Alpha with demon boots, or equipped with common emblems, never runs out of mana and can use skills without restrictions.
He is still a spammy hero, so obviously he needs to have a general drawback, which is mana. This is a good response, but knowing MOONTON, it imploded. Alpha doesn't even use either. His mana issues is fixed from blue buff. Not to mention he does have restrictions even with blue buff, not just in a mana standpoint, but also in a standpoint of engage.
So, removing his mana is essentially giving you a free pair of demon boots, allowing you to purchase other boots, while still using skills without restrictions.
No one even uses demon boots. Are you kidding me right now? No fucking sane person would go demon boots over the likes of tough or warrior boots for fighters, tanks, and magic arcane boots for the mages. I'm arguing over a brick wall here.
Therefore, the enhancement can be quantified and controlled. We can simply understand that removing Alpha's mana will not enhance him more than the attribute strength provided by a pair of boots or some emblems.
But it does enhance the hero. Not just Alpha's, but everyone in general, because their only drawback to the kit they have been made around and established is now gone, without even accounting that already broken heroes like Arlott and Terizla shared the same mana removal as Zilong and Layla, who suffers from kit issues and other plethora reasons. That alone sets the bar that removing mana does have consequences in balancing.
Now, let's talk about returning to base as a means of restoring mana. MLBB matches are normally at a fast pace, and we've given most fighter and tank heroes ways to sustain their HP.
Sustain heroes do need mana as their main drawback because they prolong fights long enough to constantly cast skills and eventually running out of mana. What does that fix to removing mana? What's the end goal of doing such thing then? What the fuck is the point?
We don't want them to return to base frequently.
Funny way of saying fuck recalling.
However, they lack ways to restore mana, which often results in a hero with full HP but empty mana, forcing them to return to base for replenishment.
How are you justifying the fact that recalling is now invalidated in the game? Recalling to replenish resources is a core mechanic in a game like Mobile Legends, and it's always required for a hero to do so. Like previously said, sustain heroes can recover their health as much as they can, but in the process they constantly lose mana and have to patch a temporarily solution for it. One of is recalling for mana. In fact, recall to base is important on any MOBA. On League of Legends and Wild Rift, you're always forced to recall not necessarily to replenish health, so they added a gimmick where you have to buy items that are needed for your hero. Mobile Legends doesn't have that issue since you can buy items out of your ass, so the core mechanic of recalling is in that argument.
For another example, Franco's passive allows him to recover HP when out of combat, but he can't restore mana.
My brother, in Christ, you established the mechanic. That's your fault that you have to remove a resource that barely anyone was complaining onto a hero that replenishes his health out of combat. In heroes like Franco, Chip, and Sustain heroes, what the fuck is the point of recalling for them now? They will recall here and there, but most of the time it's not going to be that needed anymore. How can you mess that up?
Even with full HP, he needs to return to base, which is something we don't want to see.
What do you mean, something we don't want to see? It's literally a staple mechanic in a MOBA game to have a fountain dedicated to replenish your resources. At this point, you could have just said that, so we plan to remove recalling.
Chip's similar issue will be addressed in a future update.
Chip is already overloaded. So why not nerf him? I can make a video about how much you fucked up Chip in terms of balancing and how he's the most problematic hero of all MOBAs, next to Fanny.
Let's compare Terizla and Paquito, or Alpha and Yu Jong. What fundamental difference is there between them that requires Terizla and Alpha to have mana, while Paquito and Yu Jong don't?
You're comparing heroes that have different practicality, game design sense, and gimmicks, all because of a resource. Paquito's gimmick of needing to cast 3 skills to gain access for his enhanced skill is his type of resource. He's resourceless by default, but the 3 bars of his replaces that. Terizla's gimmick is all about being able to tank out damage and sustain through his passive and enabling team fights with his ultimate. He uses mana because although he can suffice health bar due to his immense sustain, eventually he will run out of mana. Same argument for Alpha and Yu Jong. Both are sustain heroes, yet they have different functional and practical use. Alpha's gimmick is being an anti-tank unit, capable of dishing out damage due to his true damage capabilities. Yu Jong, on the other hand, although being able to dish out significant damage like Alpha, his practical use on his kit is his ultimate, which is the main identity of his kit, and also his passive. Hell, there used to be a unique resource for Yu Jong, Rage, yet it seemed like it's not needed anymore. Point being, their kits are established to fit having that type of resource. They have the same practicality of being a sustain hero, but their kits function very differently, so they have to create a decision whether they need a resource or not. If Paquito had mana, it won't even have a function due to how less frequent he spams his skills. If Alpha didn't have mana, it will significantly decrease his worries of running out of mana, and he's allowed to spam abilities without a drawback.
We aim to treat them equally in this mechanic.
Equality in the same game where you designed Chip? Equality when you tried to argue that counterpicks are for one-trick ponies and not admitting that counterpicks are doing their jobs well. But no, you had to resort killing Phovius and Lolita. Equality when you're not even listening to the feedback of people that has valid and approachable takes. Equality when you can't even admit you fucked up balancing the game in the past months.
In future physical hero designs and modifications, if we need to limit their skill casting frequency, we will try to add energy, rage, or other resource types that cannot be replenished through equipment and emblems.
Which, all of this, would have been prevented if you guys didn't try to he a protagonist and decided to remove mana altogether. Lancelot and Saber were literally proof that changing a hero's resource will suffer consequences to their kit. Saber's damage got gutted, and his ultimate takes a long time to get back up. Lancelot isn't allowed to spam his puncture anymore because it's more limited than him having mana. All of this started because you removed mana onto heroes that barely anyone gave a fuck if they had issues of it.
We hope our adjustment approach helps you understand our purpose and ideas.
Here's an approach. How about listening to what people with valid feedbacks have to say? Just because you saw YouTubers assume it's broken, all because of a goddamned single classic or custom match, doesn't mean you cater to it. Just because a YouTuber or a critic like us doesn't address a statement does not mean we agree. I do not wish to mention any names, but do not cater fan bases of YouTubers, especially since those people don't even play advanced server and take the word of their idols, which most of the time, they aren't even honest about their feedback. I genuinely hope this will make you guys reflect into how much you want to kill the game. All of this for what? Making the game easier to the point that it's retarded, catering what people want for the sake of the worst. We gave valid feedback, you don't listen. We tried to insult you, you don't listen. We prayed this wouldn't happen, it happened. We wanted this to stop, you don't listen. We cannot be silent about it, because you think we agree. Reflect on this, please. Thanks.